So, you need to do Desert Treasure 1? No worries, here's what you need to know. As we walk through this quest, feel free to follow the inventory tracker, pre-fight indicators, and transportation indicators at your leisure. Before tackling Desert Treasure 1, you'll need to have completed these quests and have these skill levels. As a quick note, having 10 Slayer can be bypassed by having a gas mask, face mask, or Slayer helmet available to use. Here are the required items needed to complete Desert Treasure 1. Keep in mind this is just everything you need, and obviously you won't be carrying all of this at once. The inventory tracker will remain on screen throughout the walkthrough to help you with that. Here are the helpful items and transportation options to utilize during this quest. Note that while these are all mainly just helpful and not absolutely required, I'd highly recommend having the combat-centric items ready, meaning the prayer and restore potions, antidotes or anti-poisons, the food, as you will be both tanking and killing many high-level NPCs during this quest, which I'll break down right now. There are 5 different NPCs to defeat during Desert Treasure 1. A level 139 NPC named Dessous, 5 level 120 to 124 ice trolls, a level 154 NPC named Kamil, a level 167 NPC named Farid, and Damis, an NPC which takes on 2 forms, level 103 and 174. Expect to stop by a bank multiple times during this quest, which will give you a chance to change out your gear and inventory. As a general recommendation, I would bring magic defense-centric combat gear, as some of the fights in this quest have bosses that use magic as well as melee, which can be negated with Protect from Melee, which you will use a lot. You can bring whatever you'd like, but having a good magic setup will limit the number of armor swaps you have to do. Desert Treasure 1 is a pretty long quest and can be broken up into 6 sections. Starting the quest and enchanting the mirrors, getting the smoke diamond, getting the shadow diamond, getting the blood diamond, getting the ice diamond, and raiding the ancient pyramid. These sections are all relatively long, so I'll break them up into chapters of this video so you can keep up with the section you are at and keep it bookmarked. Here's the optimal starting inventory for this quest, as well as the nice to haves, which will remain on screen and continuously update. As a note, I typically don't update the consumables as I move through the quest, but I will make notes as to when you need to have a certain amount of each kind when applicable, as well as when you need to refill them. This starting inventory will help you move through starting the quest, enchanting the mirrors, and getting the smoke diamond. To begin this quest, speak to the archaeologist near the small pool of water in the Bedabin camp in the Caridian Desert, southwest of the Shanty Pass in Al Kharid. You can utilize fairy code BIQ to get relatively close, or use the magic carpet rides, or just go through the Shanty Pass and run there. Speak with the archaeologist to accept the quest, where he will give you etchings to take to Terry Belando at the Digsite Exam Center. Travel to the Digsite and talk to Terry a couple of times, where he will exchange the etchings for a translation. From here, travel back to the archaeologist in the Bedabin camp and speak to him. Choose the Don't Read Book Dialogue option and talk to him again and agree to assist. From here, travel south to the Bandit camp, making sure not to be wearing any Saradomin or Zamorak items, and talk to the bartender in the bar. Buy a drink from him for 650 GP and talk to him again, where he will tell you about the 4 diamonds of Azzanadra. Once you find out about the diamonds, go to the building to the east of where you are and talk to Eblis and ask him about the diamonds. He will ask for specific items he needs to create the scrying glasses. Luckily, since we started with all of these items, we can just move forward. Use the logs, molten glass, steel bars, ashes, blood runes, bones, and charcoal in your inventory on Eblis. Note that I emphasize use here so you don't accidentally bury the bones. After giving Eblis all the items, he will relocate. From here, travel southeast to the hill Eblis is now on, which is a gray circle on the minimap, and talk to Eblis, who will explain how the mirrors work. At this point, it's time to go gather the diamonds. You can do this in any order, but I will be following the wiki's path, since personally I do think it is the most optimal order, especially since all the diamonds are relatively scattered around the walled map. The first diamond to gather is the smoke diamond. Equip your gas mask, face mask, or slayer helmet, as well as your ice gloves, and travel from Eblis' hill to the smoke dungeon, located directly east of where you are, noted by the dungeon entrance marker just west of Palnivniech. Entering the smoke dungeon, you'll be traveling through a variety of strong monsters who can hit pretty hard, but luckily they're mostly non-aggressive. The goal of this section of the quest is as follows: enter the dungeon, run to all 4 corners of the dungeon and light the 4 torches using your tinderbox, then travel to the center of the dungeon and open the burnt chest to obtain a warm key. Finally, use that key to enter Farid's lair on the eastern side of the dungeon and kill him to obtain the smoke diamond. The trick to this dungeon is that the torches only stay lit for a finite amount of time, so you'll have to hustle to get all 4 lit. As long as you keep running, it should be relatively easy. To make this somewhat easier, start at the torch on the top right. then light the one on the bottom right, then on the top left, then on the bottom left. This will allow you to start with the torch furthest away from the chest and finish with the one that's closest. Again, this is just a quick race and doesn't require much skill, just keeping your run energy up. Once you have all 4 torches lit, enter the center room and get the worm key from the burnt chest. Once complete, head to the entrance of Farid's lair and get ready for his fight, which is probably the easiest one during Desert Treasure 1. There's a lot of info on this fight about Farid, but here's really the simple breakdown. Use Protect for melee, because he hits up to 40 with his melee attack. He can also sometimes use an inaccurate magic attack that can hit up to 20. Since you're wearing magic defense armor, this shouldn't be too bad, aside from having to eat a few pieces of food if necessary. For offense, cast water spells on him, the best you can do. If you don't have ice gloves equipped, he will disarm you and you'll likely be stuck manually casting each spell. But if you do have the gloves, you won't be disarmed and can auto-cast your water spells and dispatch them relatively quickly. Follow these strategy points and it should be pretty simple. Once Farid has been killed, the smoke diamond will appear in your inventory and you can move on. Now that you have the smoke diamond, it's time to get the shadow diamond. This takes the longest in my opinion, but will strategically teleport here to make it a little easier. From the smoke dungeon, teleport either using a skills necklace to the fishing guild or using the barbarian assault grouping teleport, whichever option gives you a chance to use the bank. Once you're at either of these banks, you can deposit your tinderbox, ice gloves, and your mask. Now you should withdraw the following items. Couple quick notes here. You have to lockpick a chest here, which can take time, and the lockpicks will get used up very quickly. If you bring 5 unnoted to start and the rest noted, you can keep unnoting them by talking to Tiles, who will exchange them for 5 GP each. This will reduce clutter of lockpicks in your inventory while making sure you don't run out of lockpicks. Also, the Sal Graveyard teleport is totally optional to making traveling to the next step of the quest quicker and easier. You should also take this time to replenish your inventory with prayer potions, food, and stamina or energy potions as needed. This is kind of what your inventory should look like now, aside from mixing and matching consumables. Now, head to the entrance of the Tourist Information Center and talk to Rasolo, who will offer you a ring of visibility in exchange for a gilded cross. Once you're done talking to them, head to the bandit camp back in the desert. There are multiple ways you can get back, which are listed on the transportation options on screen. Once you're back at the bandit camp, go into the southernmost tent to find a secure chest. There are 3 lockpicks you have to bypass in order to open this chest, all of which have a chance to cause you to fail. This is where you're going to burn through those lockpicks really fast, as this can take some time. Use your lockpicks until you successfully open the chest, unnoting any additional lockpicks you may need by talking to Tiles in the camp, who will unnote them for 5 GP each. Once you successfully pick the chest lock and get the gilded cross out of it, head back to Rasolo in the tourist center and exchange the cross for the ring of visibility. Once you have the ring, equip it. Once it's equipped, a ladder will appear right to the east of Rasolo, which you should go climb down to enter the Shadow Dungeon. The Shadow Dungeon is a multi-combat area full of giant skeletons and shadow hounds, so be ready to run and avoid as much damage as you possibly can, using Protect for melee if you need to. Just to make this easy, here's a picture from the wiki on the path to take to get to Damis' cave. Navigate your way there before entering a large area, and be ready because Damis, in my opinion, is the worst of all the fights. Damis has 2 forms, a level 103 one and one that's 174. The level 103 is pretty straightforward, just use Protect for melee and burn him down. The second form is extremely annoying because Damis now hits faster, harder, and standing next to him will cause your prayer to be drained pretty quickly, causing you to lose 5% plus 1 of your current prayer points. I actually died on this account while fighting this guy because I didn't prepare my position very well, which is really paramount here. Once you're ready, enter the large area where you're going to be waiting a little bit. Damis will spawn after some time. There's 2 safe spots when fighting Damis, located here and here. I'll demonstrate how I safe spotted him to allow for an easy kill. So while there is another method using the other safe spot available, I prefer to do this method. Basically what you need to do here is lure Damis into this safe spot location, then utilize one of the rats as a barrier between you and him. I kept my full attempt here just to show that this can be very tricky. As you can see, I keep constantly having to move back and forth. It requires a lot of patience because he can get caught up in the walls a lot. Once you get him in there, you need to attack a rat and get it between you and Damis. I would unequip your items here and hit the rat unarmed, or try to cast a magic spell that does not do any damage to it, just to try and avoid killing it, which happens a lot. Once you have the rat's attention, you can start attacking Damis, making it to where he can't reach you and you don't need to worry about the prayer drain. Since this is a multi-combat area, you'll need to be able to keep attacking Damis while the rat is on you. making killing him much easier. Be warned, this does take time, and also make sure to turn off auto retaliate so you don't accidentally hit the rat. Follow this method for a quick and relatively easy kill once you get him set up. Once Damis has been killed, he will drop the shadow diamond on the floor, which you should pick up. Then teleport out using the Salve Graveyard Teleport tab or whatever teleport method you have. The next destination you're going to is in Canafis. With the Shadow Diamond in hand and in Canafis, head to the bank. Here you can now deposit your lockpicks, anti-poison, and ring of visibility. And you can withdraw these items. Once your inventory is ready, talk to Malak in the Canafis pub and tell him you're looking for a diamond. He will ask you to kill Dessous. Make sure to ask him how to kill Dessous before moving on. Once complete, travel to Draynor village using any of the teleport options available. Once in Draynor, head to the Draynor sewers using the trapdoor west of Morgan's house. In the sewers, go east and north and talk to Ronton. Ruinton, whatever it is, asking him where you can find a silver pot. Once you're done talking to Ronton, head over to the docks on Port Sarim. Stop by the deposit box near the ship and deposit all the armor and anything you can't take to Entrana. Then board the ship. Once you are at Entrana, head to the church and get your pot blessed by the High Priest. With your blessed pot, head right on back to Canafis. Once you're in Canafis, talk to Malak again and he will fill your pot with blood. Add your garlic powder and spice to the pot. Before moving on, examine your pot as it should read a blessed silver pot filled with blood, garlic, and spices. This just to make sure that you have it exactly the way it needs to be. Once done, you can stop by the bank and prepare for the fight with Dessous, withdrawing food, prayer, potions, whatever combat method you want to fight Dessous with. For this walkthrough, I ended up using ranged when fighting Dessous only because I had a higher DPS output with ranged at the time. Though I would say bring a little bit of extra food because he does hit hard with his magic attack. Now head to the graveyard site where Dessous can be summoned. There's multiple ways to get there. You can walk through the swamp, go through the Mire Queue hideout, which requires In Search of the Mire Queue to be completed, or use the Morton boat. All are feasible options, so just use whatever works best for you. Once you're at the graveyard, be ready. Dessous has two attacks, a rapid melee attack that can hit for up to 19 and a combination range and magic attack that hits 100% of the time for 10 damage total. He will also randomly teleport you away if you're using any kind of protection prayer while not in melee range. To combat this, you should fight him in melee range and use Protect from melee to reduce the damage of his melee attacks. Finally, he cannot be safe spotted, only flinched, which I tried to do multiple times but I was unsuccessful in doing properly. Maybe you can have better luck, but I just went ahead and tanked him. Realistically, you should just try to burn him down using Protect from melee and whatever DPS method you have that will work for you. It's also extremely important to note that if you leave the fight, i.e. run out of his aggro radius, Dessous will eventually get bored and teleport away. If he teleports away more than 3 times, or if you die, you will need to regather the pot. You need to summon him. An extremely time-consuming process that you should avoid at all costs. Expect to use a lot of food here and hope the RNG is on your side. After you successfully defeat Dessous, head back to Malak in the Canafis pub, who will give you the blood diamond. Head back to the Canafis bank and set up your inventory to get the last item needed, the Ice Diamond. At this point, you can deposit all of these items right here and withdraw these items right here. Before we start on this section, a quick note. This step of Desert Treasure is notorious because while in the Ice Path area, your stats are going to be drained constantly. So much that you should absolutely bring at least 2 or 3 super restore potions. This also creates issues for casting magic spells, which after a while, unless you keep restoring your stats, you're going to end up dropping your magic level below the requirement needed to cast a certain spell. Due to this, I would recommend you equip yourself with the runes needed to cast a lower level fire magic spell, like Firebolt. This only requires level 35 magic to use, and I can only imagine anyone doing Desert Treasure is at least 55, 60 magic, meaning it's going to take a little bit of time to drop below the 35 requirement. Once your inventory is ready to go, head up to Trollheim. If you don't have the Trollheim teleport, you'll have to go the long way through Berthorpe with a pair of climbing boots equipped. Once you're in Trollheim, take the northwestern path that leads to the Troll Child, which is north of the path that leads to the Troll Stronghold. There will be 2 paths as you move through this one with a boulder and one without. For those who don't know, the boulder one leads to God War's dungeons. So you're going to be taking the one that does not have the boulder in front, which will get you to the Troll Child. You'll know you went the right way because it will start to snow on the screen. Once you get to the Troll Child in the Ice Path entrance, talk to the troll, who will cry and won't speak to you. Give him whatever sweet food you brought and talk to him again, where he will tell you his parents are frozen further along the path. Try to enter the ice path then, where the child will explain to you why it's frozen, then you can squeeze through the gates. As soon as you enter the gate, your stats are going to start being reduced and your run energy and special attack will immediately be drained to 0, meaning you're going to be walking the entire time. Once in the path, you need to kill 5 ice trolls, who do hit extremely hard with melee. You need to use Protect for melee here and kill them as quickly as possible. Once you kill the 5 trolls, the cave will thaw and you can proceed to the next section. At this point, if you feel like you need more supplies, especially restore potions, feel free to go back and get some. Otherwise, continue on. Once you enter the ice cave where Kamil is, be wary of the ice wolves scattered around. They are multi-combat and can hit for up to 16, so Protect for melee should be used here. Once you get the message saying you can feel an evil presence nearby, Kamil will spawn and aggro you. Kamil uses 2 attacks, a basic melee that hits up to 23 and a magic attack like Dessous, which basically hits for 5 twice instantly for a total of 10 damage. He will also very annoyingly freeze you with an ice barrage style attack. This is absolutely enraging and will prevent you from moving or attacking for several seconds. This, once again, like Dessous, is another DPS race. Use your fire spells, keep up Protect for melee, and burn down Kamil, making sure to use food, restore potions, whatever you need. Once Kamil is defeated, continue following the path west behind him, then north, then east. Basically, you're making a loop. You'll reach a ledge surrounded by ice formations. At this point, put on your spiked boots and use the ice ledge to climb up it. This is a long path that spirals around and you just keep climbing until you reach the parents. Expect to slip and fall quite a few times. Use any leftover restore potions you have to keep your agility level somewhat stable to help with this. Eventually you'll get to the top and follow a path through an ice gate, seeing the 2 ice blocks with the parents in them. These blocks have 10 HP each and need to be destroyed, which you should do as quickly as possible. Once you've freed the parents, they will escort you back to where the child was and give you the ice diamond. At this point, you have all 4 diamonds and need to return to Eblis at the mirror in the desert. Teleport out of Trollheim using whatever method you like and stop by a bank before continuing. Alright, so we're nearing the end of the quest here. We're at the very last section. So banking at this point, I would hard reset all of your inventory and equipment. You should have the following items in your inventory to finish. There's a lot of running in this last step, so I'd recommend bringing graceful gear as equipment here or any other weight reducing clothing. And again, as many energy potions or stamina potions as you can bring. With your inventory sorted out, return to Eblis in the desert with all the diamonds. Speak with him, then go to the ancient pyramid southeast of his location. Place each diamond in its respective obelisk in the 4 corners of the pyramid. You can tell this by looking at the color in the center or on the tip of the obelisks. Once all 4 diamonds are placed, the pyramid will open and be accessible from the top. You can now enter the pyramid at this point. Inside this pyramid, you're going to see a lot of monsters patrolling around and be attacked constantly, with level 103 and 96 mummies patrolling and level 92 scarab swarms that pop up out of the ground. The scarabs can poison you, so just be aware of that and use your anti-poisons as needed. Additionally, there are random traps throughout the pyramid that can activate and send you back to the entrance, which is by far the worst and most annoying part of this whole quest. Expect to get sent back a few times, if not more. This is where the stamina and prayer potions come in handy very often. There are 4 levels to this pyramid, and here are the paths to follow. I'll speed up my character moving through them, and you can pause the video as needed to complete the pathing yourself. Eventually, you're going to reach the center of level 4, which has Azzanadra and the Ancient Magic's altar. Speak with Azzanadra or spawn him by using the altar if he isn't there. Move through all of his dialogue, which at the end, Azzanadra will reward you with the Ancient Magic spellbook, which will then complete the quest.